Admiral Ji-ho Kim stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars explode around him. Each flash of light meant another Federation ship was gone forever. His fleet had started the day with 300 vessels. Now only 40 remained, and the enemy was still coming. The Valkyrian ships looked like giant metal spiders floating through space. Their dark hulls reflected no light, making them hard to see until their weapons fired. When they did fire, entire Federation cruisers simply vanished. The exotic matter cannons tore through shields and armor like they were made of paper. "Admiral, the horizon is taking heavy fire," called Captain Minji Park from her station. She was young for a starship captain, but she had proven herself in a dozen battles. Her dark eyes showed worry as she watched the tactical display. "They're requesting permission to retreat." Ji-ho shook his head. "Tell them to hold position. We cannot let the Valkyrians reach the planet." Below them, the world of Kepler 442b held 20 million Federation citizens. It was the last major stronghold in this sector. If it fell, the Valkyrians would have a clear path to the inner worlds. Earth itself would be in danger. The bridge shook as enemy fire struck their shields. Sparks flew from damaged control panels. A young officer wiped blood from a cut on his forehead but kept working at his station. "Shields down to 30%, reported Commander Hyun-woo Lee from the engineering station. He was a calm man who never seemed to panic even in the worst situations. "We cannot take much more of this." Through the main view screen, Ji-ho could see the massive Valkyrian command ship. It was 10 times larger than his flagship, covered in weapon ports that glowed with deadly energy. The ship belonged to Overlord Thexmore, the butcher who had destroyed 17 star systems. "Sir, incoming transmission from Federation Command," said the communications officer. Ji-ho closed his eyes for a moment. He knew what the message would say. "Put it through." The face of Admiral Chen appeared on the screen. The old man looked tired and defeated. "Ji-ho, the Council has voted. We are officially surrendering to the Valkyrian Empire. You are ordered to cease fire and prepare for surrender negotiations." The bridge fell silent. Even the sound of weapons fire seemed to fade away. Ji-ho felt his heart sink. 3 decades of war, and it was ending like this. "Admiral, did you hear me?" Chen asked. "I heard you," Ji-ho replied quietly. "But I need to ask you something. Have you read the intelligence reports about human prisoners?" Chen frowned. "What do you mean?" Commander Lee looked up from his station. He had been studying Valkyrian communications for months. "Sir, the intercepted messages. The Valkyrians talk about humans differently than other species." "Explain," Chen said. Hyun-woo pulled up a data file on his screen. When they capture other Federation species, they treat them as slaves or food. But when they capture humans, they study them. They keep them in special facilities. And their communications about humans always include fear markers. Ji-ho stepped closer to the screen. "Chen, they are afraid of us. I do not know why, but every intercepted message shows it. They call us the Hunters in their language." "That is impossible," Chen said. "We have been at war for 30 years. If humans were so dangerous, why are we losing?" Captain Park spoke up from her station. "Permission to speak freely, sir." Chen nodded. "My grandmother used to tell stories about the old days on Earth, before we joined the Federation. She said humans were different then, harder. She said we had to change ourselves to be accepted by the other species." Another explosion rocked the ship. The lights flickered and came back on. "Admiral, we do not have time for stories," Chen said. "You have your orders." Ji-ho looked around his bridge. These people had followed him through impossible battles. They trusted him with their lives. Below them, 20 million civilians waited to see if the Federation could protect them. "Chen, what if we have been fighting the wrong kind of war?" "What do you mean?" "What if the reason we are losing is because we have been trying to fight like the other Federation species? What if we need to fight like humans?" Chen's face showed confusion. "Ji-ho, you are not making sense. Prepare for surrender. That is an order." Ji-ho made a decision that would change the course of the war. He reached over and closed the communication channel. The bridge crew stared at him in shock. "Sir, you just cut off Federation command," said the communications officer. "I know." Ji-ho turned to face his crew. "How many of you have heard the old stories about what humans were like before we joined the Federation?" Several hands went up slowly. "My grandfather was a soldier in the Earth Wars," said one young officer. "He said humans used to be feared across the planet." "Mine was a hunter," said another. "He said humans were the only species on Earth that hunted everything else." Dr. Yoonji Choi, the ship's science officer, spoke from her station. Admiral, I have been studying Valkyrian biology. They evolved from herbivores, plant eaters. Their entire species has no experience with predators. What are you saying? I am saying that maybe the reason they fear us is because they recognize something in us that we have forgotten about ourselves. Jiho nodded slowly. He walked to the communication station and activated a special encrypted channel. It was a frequency that had never been used in the 30 years of war. A frequency that connected directly to Earth's darkest secrets. This is Admiral Jiho Kim of the Federation's 7th Fleet, he said into the microphone. Authentication code Omega 77. I am requesting immediate activation of Protocol Apex Predator. The bridge fell silent. Even the sound of battle seemed to pause. A voice answered from the other end of the channel. It was cold and professional. Admiral Kim, this is General Soo-Young Han. Please confirm your request. Jiho looked at his crew one more time. They were all watching him, waiting to see what would happen next. General, the battle is lost. The Federation is surrendering. But I believe we have been fighting the wrong war. I believe it is time to show the galaxy what humans really are. Understood, Admiral. Protocol Apex Predator is now active. Help is coming. The channel closed. Jiho turned back to his crew. All ships, this is Admiral Kim. Continue fighting. Do not surrender. Earth is coming. Outside the view screen, the Valkyrian ships continued their attack. But something had changed. For the first time in 30 years of war, humans were about to stop pretending to be something they were not. General Soo-Young Han stood in the deepest level of Luna Base, 5 kilometers below the surface of Earth's moon. The room around her had been hidden for 50 years, disguised as a simple research facility. Now, for the first time since its construction, the true purpose of this place was being revealed. General, all stations are reporting ready, said Colonel Dong-Yun Song. He was a tall man with scars on his hands from battles that officially never happened. The Ghost Division is prepared for deployment. Soo-Young nodded and walked to the massive window that looked out into space. What appeared to be a peaceful research station was actually something much more dangerous. Hidden within the civilian structures were weapons that no Federation species had ever seen. 50 years, she said quietly. 50 years we have been hiding what we really are. Dr. Yuna Shin approached from behind. She was the chief scientist of the most classified project in human history. Her white coat could not hide the fact that she moved like a soldier. General, the council representatives are demanding answers. They want to know why we never told them about these facilities. Soo-Young turned around. The main control room was filled with dozens of screens showing ships, weapons, and soldiers that the Federation never knew existed. Officers in black uniforms worked at stations that had been waiting decades for this moment. Dr. Shin, how much do you know about human evolution? I know enough. We were hunters, predators, but that was millions of years ago. Was it? Soo-Young walked to a display showing human brain scans. When humans joined the Federation, we had to prove we were civilized. We had to show that we were not violent, so we changed ourselves. We used genetic therapy, psychological conditioning, drug treatments. We made ourselves more like the other species. Major Xiongmin Kang looked up from his tactical station. He was young but had been raised in the secret military programs. General, the modifications were supposed to be permanent. How can we reverse them? Dr. Shin smiled, but it was not a pleasant smile. They were never permanent. We just convinced everyone they were. The conditioning can be removed. The genetic blocks can be lifted. The drugs can be stopped. She activated a holographic display showing human DNA. Every human in the Federation still carries the genetic markers of Earth's apex predator. We just buried them very deep. And Project Berserker? Asked Colonel Song. Project Berserker is what happens when we stop burying those instincts, Dr. Shin replied. When we let humans be what they really are. An alarm sounded throughout the facility. On the main screen, a Federation cruiser appeared. It was broadcasting demands to inspect the Luna Base facilities. General, it is Ambassador Kellen from the Centauri delegation, reported the communications officer. He is demanding to know what we are hiding. Soo-Young opened the channel. Ambassador Kellen appeared on screen. He was a typical Centauri, tall and thin, with large eyes adapted for low light. His species had evolved from prey animals that lived in burrows. General Han, the Federation Council demands a full explanation. Our sensors detect massive energy signatures from your facility. What are you hiding? Ambassador, we are preparing to save the Federation. By hiding weapons from your allies? This is a violation of every treaty we have signed. Dr. Shin stepped forward. Ambassador, may I ask you a question? What do you know about human history before we joined the Federation? Kellen's large eyes blinked nervously. I know that humans were violent, that they fought wars, but you proved you had evolved beyond that. No, said Dr. Shin. We proved we could control it. There is a difference. She activated another display showing images from Earth's history. Ancient humans hunting massive creatures with simple tools. Human armies conquering continents. Human explorers crossing dangerous oceans in small boats. Ambassador, every other species in the Federation evolved from herbivores or scavengers. You developed intelligence to hide from predators. We developed intelligence to become better predators. Kellen stepped back from his screen. That is impossible. Predator species cannot develop advanced civilization. They destroy themselves. Usually, yes, agreed Su-young. But humans are special. We learn to hunt in groups. We learn to plan. We learn to work together. And most importantly, we learn to control our hunting instincts when necessary. But you used those same instincts to build an empire, Kellen said. Exactly. And now the Valkyrians are threatening everything we have built. So we are going to hunt them. Another officer approached. General, the fleet is ready for departure. All ships are armed and crews are prepared. Su-young nodded. Through the window, she could see the hidden fleet beginning to move. Ships that looked like harmless cargo vessels were revealing their true nature. Weapon ports opened along their hulls. Fighter bays that had been disguised as storage areas began launching small, deadly craft. Ambassador, I am going to show you something that your species has never seen, Su-young said. I am going to show you what happens when apex predators go to war. On the tactical display, intelligence reports from the front lines appeared. The Valkyrian fleet was celebrating their victory over Admiral Kim's forces. They thought the war was over. Colonel Song, what is the status of our intelligence network? All deep cover agents are in position, General. We have been placing operatives throughout Valkyrian space for 30 years. They think our people are just harmless human traders and diplomats. And the psychological profiles. Major Kang activated his screens. Complete profiles on every major Valkyrian commander. We know their fears, their weaknesses, their family histories. Everything. Dr. Shin pulled up biological data. The Valkyrians are herbivores like most Federation species. But unlike the others, they became aggressive through technology, not evolution. They do not understand true predatory behavior. What does that mean? Asked Ambassador Kellen. It means they fight like angry plant eaters, explained Colonel Song. They use superior technology and numbers to overwhelm their enemies. But they do not understand hunting. They do not understand psychological warfare. They do not understand terror. Su-young walked to the communication station. Open a channel to all human military commanders throughout the Federation. The screen filled with dozens of faces. These were the humans who had been secretly maintaining Earth's real military capabilities while pretending to be peaceful Federation officers. Today we stop pretending, Su-young announced. Today we show the galaxy what humanity really is. Activate all sleeper units. Begin Phase 1 of Operation Apex Predator. Across Federation space, humans in positions of authority began removing the psychological blocks that had hidden their true nature for 50 years. Soldiers who had been peaceful for decades suddenly remembered what it felt like to hunt. Officers who had been following Federation military doctrine began thinking like the predators their ancestors had been. General, long-range sensors are detecting movement throughout human space, reported an officer. Civilian transports are being converted to military vessels. Trading posts are revealing hidden weapon caches. Even human merchant ships are showing military capabilities. Ambassador Kellen watched in horror as the displays showed the true scope of human military preparation. You have been planning this for decades. We have been preparing for this since the day we joined the Federation, Su-young confirmed. We knew that someday our allies might need to see what we really are. The first wave of the human fleet was already moving toward the front lines. These were not the ships that the Federation knew about. These were vessels designed by minds that understood warfare at a level that herbivore species could never comprehend. Dr. Shin, what is the estimated arrival time at Kepler 442b? 72 hours, General. Admiral Kim's forces just need to hold out for 3 more days. Su-young smiled. It was the smile of a predator who had found her prey. Then let us begin the hunt. Captain Yemeno floated in the command chair of his ship, watching the Velcarian fleet through sensors that showed him everything, while revealing nothing about his own vessel. The destroyer Fenrir looked like a piece of space debris from the outside. Even its heat signature was disguised to match a dead asteroid. "Captain, we are in position," whispered Lieutenant Nayoung Kim from her station. She was the ship's neural warfare specialist, trained in psychological combat techniques that no other Federation species understood. "The Velcarians have no idea we are here." Jemin nodded and studied the tactical display. The Velcarian fleet was massive, over 800 ships surrounding the planet Kepler 442b. Admiral Jiho Kim's Federation forces were down to less than 20 vessels, barely holding a defensive line around the planet's orbital stations. "Sergeant Park, what is the status of your teams?" Sergeant Taehyung Park looked up from his equipment checks. His soldiers were enhanced humans, their genetic blocks removed and their predatory instincts fully awakened. They moved with a fluid grace that seemed unnatural compared to normal Federation troops. "Ready for boarding operations, sir. The boys are eager to stretch their legs." Through the main view screen, Jamin could see the celebration happening on the Velcarian command ships. They thought the war was over. They thought they had won. They had no idea that Earth's real military was now moving through their fleet like sharks in the water. Lieutenant Kim, begin passive scanning of enemy communications. "I want to know what they are thinking." Nayoung activated her neural warfare systems. The equipment was based on human understanding of psychology and fear, concepts that herbivore species had never needed to develop. Within minutes, she was intercepting not just Velcarian communications, but also analyzing the emotional content of their transmissions. "Sir, they are confident. Overconfident. They are already planning victory celebrations and discussing how to divide Federation territory." "Any mention of the human fleet approaching?" "None, sir." "Their scouts reported our ships as space debris or civilian transports. They have no idea what is coming." Pilot Sunmi Lee spoke from the fighter bay. "Captain, stealth fighters are ready for launch. We can begin picking off their scouts without them knowing what hit them." Jamin studied the enemy formation. The Velcarians were arranged in a standard siege pattern, with their largest ships focusing fire on Admiral Kim's defensive line, while smaller vessels prevented any escape. It was an effective formation against normal military tactics, but humans had never used normal military tactics. "All units, this is Captain O. Begin hunting Pattern Alpha. Remember, we are not here to win a battle. We are here to teach them fear." Across the human fleet, similar conversations were happening. Ships that looked like harmless debris were powering up weapons that the Federation had never seen. Fighter pilots who had been conditioned to fight defensively were remembering how to hunt. The first Velcarian ship died without ever knowing it was under attack. Sunmi's stealth fighter approached from the ship's blind spot, fired a single precise shot into the reactor core, and disappeared before the explosion finished lighting up space. "Target destroyed," Sunmi reported calmly, moving to next hunting ground. On the Velcarian command ship, alarms began sounding. Overlord Thexmore stared at his tactical display in confusion. "What happened to the patrol ship?" "Unknown, Overlord. It simply exploded." Sensors detected no enemy vessels in the area. "Equipment malfunction?" "Possibly, sir." But 10 minutes later, another Velcarian ship exploded. Then another. Each death was sudden and unexplained. The Velcarian fleet began to stir nervously. "Sir, we are receiving strange transmissions," reported the Velcarian communications officer. "What kind of transmissions?" "Human voices, sir. But they are not requesting surrender. They are laughing." Jemin smiled as he listened to the intercepted Velcarian communications. Fear was already beginning to spread through their fleet. Lieutenant Kim's psychological warfare broadcasts were working perfectly. "What are they saying about us?" he asked. "They are confused, sir. They cannot understand why humans are laughing while losing a battle. Their psychology profiles of humans are all wrong." "Good. Begin Phase 2. Sergeant Park and his enhanced soldiers launched from the Fenrir in small boarding pods designed to look like escape capsules. The pods drifted toward a Velcarian supply ship. "Broadcasting distress signals, Captain. We are being approached by what appears to be human refugees," reported the Velcarian ship's captain. "Bring them aboard. The Overlord wants human prisoners for study." The Velcarians had no idea they had just invited apex predators onto their ship. Park's team moved through the Velcarian vessel like ghosts. They did not kill the crew immediately. Instead, They disabled key systems, cut communications, and began broadcasting recordings of Valkyrian screams throughout the ship's internal network. "Remember," Park whispered to his soldiers, "we want survivors, scared survivors who will tell stories." The enhanced humans moved with a coordination that herbivore species could not match. They anticipated each other's movements, communicated without words, and struck with a precision that came from millions of years of evolutionary hunting experience. Within an hour, Park's team had taken control of the Valkyrian supply ship, but instead of destroying it, they did something much more terrifying. They sent it back to the main fleet with a single surviving crew member. The survivors' report spread terror through the Valkyrian ranks faster than any weapon could have. They moved like pack hunters. The terrified Valkyrian gasped. They did not just attack us. They played with us. They enjoyed it. Admiral Kim, watching from his flagship, saw the change in Valkyrian behavior immediately. Their formation began to shift from confident aggression to defensive caution. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from Captain O," reported his communications officer. Jamin's face appeared on the screen. Behind him, the bridge of the Fenrir showed human officers working with calm efficiency. "Admiral Kim, human forces are in position. We are ready to begin the real hunt. Captain, what are your orders?" "Continue fighting exactly as you have been. Draw their attention. Make them focus on you while we teach them what it means to be prey." The second phase of the human attack was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of engaging in direct combat, the human ships began stalking individual Valkyrian vessels like wolves hunting a herd. Lieutenant Kim's neural warfare systems began broadcasting directly into Valkyrian minds. The transmissions carried sounds that triggered deep, primal fears in herbivore psychology: the sound of breathing in darkness, the whisper of movement behind them, the patient quiet of something waiting to strike. "Sir, the enemy fleet is beginning to panic," reported Nayong. "Their communications are full of fear responses. They are starting to make mistakes." Jamin watched as Valkyrian ships began firing at shadows, wasting ammunition on targets that did not exist. Their tight formation was breaking apart as individual captains made panicked decisions. "Sunmi, begin the isolation protocol." Pilot Lee and her squadron of stealth fighters began systematically destroying Valkyrian communication relays and sensor arrays. Within 2 hours, the massive enemy fleet was broken into dozens of smaller groups that could not coordinate with each other. "This is how humans hunted mammoths," Sergeant Park explained to his soldiers as they prepared to board another Valkyrian ship. "We did not try to fight the entire herd. We separated one animal from the group. Then we surrounded it. Then we killed it slowly, while the rest of the herd watched." The psychology was working perfectly. The Valkyrians had gone from confident predators to terrified prey in a matter of hours. They were making increasingly desperate decisions, abandoning their tactical advantages and, most importantly, beginning to question whether they could win this war. On his command ship, Overlord Thexmore stared at reports that made no sense to his herbivore mind. "How many human ships are attacking us?" "Unknown, sir. They appear as debris on our sensors until they fire, then they disappear again." "What are our losses?" 47 ships destroyed or captured, sir. But we have only confirmed kills on 3 human vessels." Thexmore felt something he had never experienced before in 3 decades of conquest. "Doubt, sir. We are receiving another transmission from the humans." "Put it through." Jamin's voice filled the Valkyrian command bridge, but he was not issuing demands or threats. He was simply speaking in a calm, conversational tone. "Overlord Thexmore, this is Captain O of the human fleet. We know you are listening. We want you to understand something. This is not a battle. This is a hunt, and you are the prey." The transmission ended, leaving the Valkyrian bridge in terrified silence. Commander Minho Jeon moved through the corridors of the Valkyrian battleship like a shadow-given form. His boarding team had taken the vessel without killing a single crew member, but the Valkyrians aboard were more terrified than if half their number had died. "Target the engines first," Minho whispered into his comm unit. "Leave life support intact. We want them to have plenty of time to think about what is happening to them." The enhanced human soldiers moved with a precision that evolution had spent millions of years perfecting. They did not rush or make noise. They simply appeared where they needed to be, disabled what needed to be disabled, and vanished before the enemy could react. Dr. Hyun-Yu monitored the operation from her command ship, watching biometric data from the Valkyrian crew through hacked sensors. As the ship's psychological warfare specialist, she understood how to weaponize fear better than any warrior who had ever lived. Commander Jian, the crew's stress levels are approaching critical thresholds. They are beginning to break psychologically. Perfect. Begin broadcasting the recordings. Throughout the Valkyrian ship, speakers began playing sounds that no herbivore species could hear without triggering deep evolutionary panic. The slow, steady breathing of a predator, the soft sound of footsteps following behind them. Most terrifying of all, human laughter echoing through empty corridors. Captain Wu Jin. Nam watched the hunt unfold from his command chair aboard the destroyer Shadowhawk. His ship was one of dozens now stalking individual Valkyrian vessels throughout the star system. The enemy fleet had broken apart completely, with each ship trying desperately to escape what they could not understand. "Captain, we have acquired our target," reported his tactical officer. "Valkyrian heavy cruiser isolated from the main group. Begin the approach. Remember, we do not want to destroy them quickly. We want them to suffer." The Shadowhawk moved toward its prey with the patience of a spider approaching a trapped fly. Human hunters had learned long ago that the death of the prey was less important than the terror of the hunt. Fear was a weapon that could defeat entire armies without firing a shot. Overlord Thexmore stood on his command bridge, watching his empire crumble around him. In 3 decades of conquest, he had never faced an enemy like this. The humans did not fight like soldiers. They fought like something much more primitive and terrifying. "Status report," he demanded. 137 ships lost or disabled, my lord. Our formation has completely collapsed. Individual captains are fleeing the system without orders. And human losses? 17 confirmed kills, sir. But our sensors cannot track most of their vessels. They appear to be using some kind of adaptive camouflage technology. Thexmore knew it was not technology. Somehow these humans had learned to become invisible to sensors designed to detect normal military vessels. They moved through space like predators moving through tall grass, seen only when they chose to strike. "Sir, we are receiving transmissions from our captured ships. Put them through." The screen filled with the face of a Valkyrian captain who had been taken prisoner by Minho's boarding team. The officer's eyes showed a terror that Thexmore had never seen before. "My lord, you must retreat. These humans, they are not like the Federation soldiers we have fought. They are something else. Something that should not exist. Explain. They do not kill us quickly. They take our ships apart piece by piece while we watch. They study us like we are insects. And they broadcast our fear to other ships to break morale." The transmission ended. Thexmore realized that the humans were not just trying to win battles. They were trying to destroy the will to fight of every Valkyrian in the galaxy. Sergeant Taehyung Park led his enhanced soldiers through zero gravity toward another target. In the vacuum of space, human evolutionary advantages became even more pronounced. Where other species relied on technology for movement and coordination, humans used instincts developed over millions of years of hunting in 3-dimensional environments. "Remember, we are pack hunters," Park told his team as they approached a Valkyrian command ship. "We surround the prey. We cut off escape routes. We strike from multiple directions at once." The boarding operation was a masterpiece of predatory tactics. Park's soldiers did not announce their presence or demand surrender. They simply appeared throughout the ship simultaneously, like a pack of wolves appearing around an isolated deer. But unlike wolves, the human soldiers did not kill immediately. They disabled the ship's weapons, cut off communications, and began the psychological phase of the attack. "Broadcasting fear protocols now," reported one of the soldiers. Throughout the Valkyrian ship, every speaker began playing recordings of human children singing lullabies. To herbivore psychology, the sound of young predators at play was more terrifying than any weapon. It spoke to genetic memories of species that had been hunted to extinction by creatures that killed for fun. Dr. Yu monitored the psychological breakdown of the Valkyrian crew from her command center. "Excellent work, Sergeant Park. The crew is showing complete psychological collapse. They will be spreading terror reports within hours. What about the command staff? Leave them alive but broken. We want them to return to their fleet with stories that will destroy morale across their entire military." This was the true genius of human warfare. Other species fought to capture territory or destroy enemy forces. Humans fought to break the enemy's will to resist. They understood that an enemy who was too terrified to fight was more valuable than an enemy who was dead. Captain Nam's hunting squadron had isolated 3 more Valkyrian ships, surrounding them like sharks circling wounded prey, but instead of attacking immediately, they began psychological warfare that was more devastating than any physical weapon. "Begin the Whisper Protocol," Nam ordered. His ships began broadcasting on Valkyrian communication frequencies, but not with threats or demands. Instead, they transmitted soft human voices speaking in perfect Valkyrian language. "We know your names," the voices whispered. "We know your families. We know where you live. We are coming for you." The effect on herbivore psychology was devastating. The Valkyrian crews began to believe that humans had been watching them for years, learning about them, preparing to hunt them personally. "Sir, the enemy ships are powering down their weapons," reported Nam's tactical officer. "They are surrendering?" "No, sir. They are too terrified to fight. But they are also too terrified to surrender. They are just freezing," Nam smiled. This was the reaction human hunters had triggered in prey animals for millions of years. When faced with a perfect predator, the prey simply stopped moving, hoping that somehow the hunter would not notice them. "Continue the psychological pressure. Let them sit there in terror while we move on to the next target." Admiral Jiho Kim watched the tactical display from his flagship, amazed at what he was seeing. The massive Valkyrian fleet that had been systematically destroying Federation forces was now scattered and broken. Individual ships fled in all directions, abandoning their formation and their mission. "Admiral, we are receiving surrender requests from 17 Valkyrian vessels," reported his communications officer. "Do not accept them yet. Let them wait. Let them think about what happens to species that threaten human civilians." Captain Minji Park approached from her station. "Sir, our human allies are requesting permission to begin the final phase." Jiho nodded. Through the viewscreen, he could see human ships emerging from concealment throughout the system. They had been invisible for hours, watching and waiting like patient hunters. "All Federation vessels, this is Admiral Kim. Prepare to witness the true nature of humanity." The final phase of the human assault was not a battle. It was a demonstration of what apex predators could do when they stopped pretending to be civilized. Human ships moved through the scattered Valkyrian fleet like orcas moving through a school of fish. They did not destroy every enemy vessel. Instead, they selected specific targets and made examples of them that would be remembered for generations. Ships that surrendered immediately were allowed to live. Ships that tried to fight were disabled, and their crews subjected to hours of psychological warfare before being released. Ships that tried to flee were hunted down slowly, allowed to think they might escape before being captured at the last moment. "Sir, long-range sensors are detecting massive movement throughout Valkyrian space," reported Dr. Yu. "News of the defeat is spreading faster than light communication. Entire sectors are reporting fleet mutinies and civilian uprisings." Overlord Thexmore realized that his empire was collapsing not because of human military superiority, but because of human psychological warfare. The terror spreading through Valkyrian space was destroying the foundation of their civilization. "Open a channel to the human fleet," he ordered. "Sir, I said open a channel. I want to speak to whoever is in command of these hunters." The screen activated, showing Captain O's calm face. Behind him, human officers worked with the quiet efficiency of predators who had successfully cornered their prey. "Overlord Thexmore, we have been expecting your call. What do you want?" "We want you to understand something that your species has never learned. There is a difference between being strong and being apex. You became strong through technology. We became apex through evolution, and apex predators always win." Thexmore felt his empire dying. Fleet Admiral Cheong Lim stood on the bridge of Earth's most powerful warship, watching as the full might of humanity's hidden fleet emerged from the darkness of space. For 50 years, these vessels had waited in the shadows, disguised as civilian transports and research stations. Now they revealed their true nature as instruments of war designed by the galaxy's only apex predator species. "Admiral, all battle groups are in position," reported her tactical officer. "The Valkyrian Empire's remaining fleets are scattered across 14 star systems, but they are no longer fighting. They are running." Cheong nodded as she studied the tactical displays. What had started as a local battle at Kepler 442b had become a galaxy-wide psychological collapse. Human psychological warfare had spread terror through Valkyrian space faster than any physical attack could have traveled. Status of Admiral Kim's forces. The 7th Fleet is secure, ma'am. Velkarian forces in the Kepler system have either surrendered or fled. Admiral Kim reports that human tactics have been extremely effective. Ambassador Siwon Young approached from the diplomatic station, his face showing a mixture of awe and concern. He had been Earth's representative to the Federation for 20 years, and he had never known the true scope of human military capabilities. Admiral, the Federation Council is demanding explanations. They want to know why humanity hid these capabilities for so long. And what did you tell them, Ambassador? I told them the truth. That we hid our capabilities because we knew they would fear us if they understood what we really are. Through the main view screen, Chae-Young could see the remnants of Overlord Thexmore's command fleet. The massive Velkarian ships that had seemed so threatening days ago now drifted helplessly, their crews too terrified to fight and too proud to surrender. Admiral, incoming transmission from the Velkarian command ship, reported the communications officer. Put it through. Overlord Thexmore appeared on the screen, but he was no longer the confident conqueror who had terrorized 17 star systems. His eyes showed the hollow defeat of a predator who had discovered that he was actually prey. Admiral Lim, I am prepared to discuss terms. Terms? Chae-Young smiled, but it was not a pleasant expression. Overlord, you seem to misunderstand the situation. You are not in a position to negotiate terms. You are in a position to beg for mercy. The Velkarian Empire has ruled this galaxy for 3 centuries. We will not simply surrender to a species of primitives. Primitives? Chae-Young activated a display showing the tactical situation across Velkarian space. Your empire is collapsing, Overlord. 30% of your fleets have mutinied. Your subject species are rebelling across 47 star systems. Your own people are refusing orders because they are too terrified to fight humans. The display showed the devastating effectiveness of human psychological warfare. News of the defeat at Kepler 442b had spread through Velkarian communication networks, carrying with it detailed reports of human tactical capabilities. The terror was spreading like a virus through their civilization. We used technology and superior numbers to build our empire, Thexmore said weakly. But you fight like something that should have been extinct millions of years ago. We fight like what we are, Chae-Young replied. We are apex predators who learn to use tools. You are herbivores who found better tools. When tools are equal, evolution decides the winner. Ambassador Young stepped forward. Overlord, the Federation is prepared to offer terms, but those terms will be dictated by humanity, not by your empire. What are your demands? Chae-Young looked at the tactical display showing the complete breakdown of Velkarian resistance. Human psychological warfare had achieved in days what traditional military campaigns would have taken years to accomplish. Complete and unconditional surrender of all Velkarian military forces. Immediate release of all prisoners and slaves. Reparations to every species you have conquered. And most importantly, the guarantee that you will never again threaten peaceful civilizations. And if we refuse, then we will teach the galaxy what happens when apex predators stop playing by civilized rules. On the tactical display, reports continued to stream in from across Velkarian space. Human special operations teams hidden throughout the Empire for decades were emerging to coordinate with local resistance movements. The combination of human tactical expertise and native knowledge was devastating to Velkarian control. Admiral, we are receiving reports from deep cover agents throughout the Empire, reported the intelligence officer. Velkarian military command structure is collapsing. Individual commanders are abandoning their posts. What about civilian populations? Mixed reactions, ma'am. Most subject species are celebrating, but many Velkarians are in complete psychological shock. They cannot comprehend losing to what they considered a primitive species. Ambassador Young activated his diplomatic channels. Admiral, the Federation Council is requesting immediate consultations. They want to understand the implications of humanity's revealed capabilities. What kind of implications? They are asking whether humanity poses a threat to other Federation members. Chae-Young considered the question carefully. For 50 years, humanity had hidden its true nature to avoid exactly this kind of fear. Now that the secret was revealed, the galaxy would have to decide how to deal with the knowledge that their most peaceful allies were actually their most dangerous predators. Ambassador, arrange a conference with the Federation leadership. It is time for an honest conversation about what humanity really is. Dr. Yu's voice came through the communication system, From her Psychological Warfare Command Center. Admiral, we are receiving surrender transmissions from Valkyrian fleets in 7 star systems. The psychological collapse is accelerating. Are they genuine surrenders? Yes, ma'am. Our analysis indicates complete psychological defeat. They are not surrendering because they cannot fight. They are surrendering because they are too terrified to continue existing as a military force. This was the true genius of human warfare. Other species fought until they were physically defeated. Humans fought until their enemies lost the will to resist. It was more efficient, more permanent, and more terrifying than any conventional military strategy. Ma'am, long-range communications are detecting something unexpected, reported the communications officer. Explain. We are receiving messages from former Valkyrian subject species. They are not just celebrating their liberation. They are requesting human military advisors to help them defend against future threats. Cheong realized that the implications of revealing humanity's true nature went far beyond ending the current war. The galaxy was about to discover that the most effective military force in known space belonged to the species they had considered the most peaceful. Admiral, the Federation Council is ready for the emergency session, announced Ambassador Jung. The main screen activated, showing representatives from dozens of species throughout Federation space. Their expressions ranged from awe to fear to confusion. For the first time, they were seeing humanity without the careful facade that had hidden their true nature for 50 years. Representatives of the Federation, Cheong began, you have questions about humanity's military capabilities. I am here to provide answers. Admiral Lim, said the Centauri representative, your species has been lying to us for 50 years. How can we trust you now?
We have not been lying.
We have been protecting you from knowledge that would have destroyed the Federation before it could grow strong enough to survive. What do you mean? I mean that if you had known what humans really are when we first applied for Federation membership, you would have rejected our application out of fear. You would have tried to destroy us before we could become a threat. And that would have been a mistake that cost you your civilizations. Dr. Yu appeared on a secondary screen from her command center. Representatives, may I share some data about human evolutionary history? The screen filled with genetic and psychological profiles comparing humans to other Federation species. The differences were stark and terrifying. Every other Federation species evolved from prey animals or peaceful omnivores. You developed intelligence to hide from predators to find food safely, to build defensive communities. Humans developed intelligence to become better hunters. But humans joined our peaceful civilization, protested the Rigelian ambassador. Yes, agreed Cheong, because we chose to. Because we learned to control our predatory instincts for the benefit of galactic peace. But that does not mean we lost those instincts. It means we became smart enough to use them only when necessary. The screen showed tactical analysis of the campaign against the Valkyrian Empire. In 72 hours, human forces had achieved what the Federation military had been unable to accomplish in 30 years of war. The Valkyrian Empire is finished, Cheong announced. Not because we destroyed their fleets, but because we broke their will to fight. We showed them what it means to be hunted by apex predators. And what happens now? Asked the Andorian representative. Now the galaxy decides how to deal with the knowledge that humans are the most dangerous species in known space. You can try to exile us, fight us, or control us, but I suggest a fourth option, which is, accept us as what we are. Apex predators who have chosen to protect the herd instead of hunting it. Ambassador,